Hi, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Thank you for joining us for the Lumiata COVID-19 Global AI Hackathon. Today is our award ceremony, and we are so excited. We had incredible participation. The team at Lumiata was absolutely blown away. You'll hear some of the details from some folks that will be speaking today. We expect that this meeting will last about 45 to 50 minutes. We have a few folks from Lumiata who will be talking. Some of our judges are going to be highlighting some of our runners up or call outs that we'd like to have for some of the unbelievable submissions that we got. And then we'll be announcing our winners. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the CEO of Lumiata, Dilawar Syed, to kick us off. Dilawar.
Thank you very much, Jessica, and thank you all for joining, and to all the participants from around the world. And I'll share with you some stats, and they're mind-blowing in terms of what global participation we had. But let me first start saying thanks to all our judges, and many of you have spent a good amount of time. Some of you were late night helping us crunch scoring sheets. So thank you for that. Much appreciated. I'm also super proud of Team Lumiata that, quite frankly, in this very difficult time, came together, met this moment to do something beyond our day-to-day jobs. And over the last 3 weeks, this team has done a great job under the leadership of folks here who are on the call to put this together. So again, thank you to everybody and to also our team as well. Well, look, I think we all know this is probably the biggest global health challenge this world has seen in almost a century. And we don't know when this is going to end. And what this means is there's going to take an army of entrepreneurs and innovators and public health officials and people who want to do good to respond to this fight, which is going to be probably perhaps a generational fight for our generation. And what we did here is one small bit that many of us are going to have to do for some time. And I hope this inspires action on part of everybody who participated, not just to do what we just did here, but to build upon it. What I also wanted to say was that, look, we as a small company ourselves, we are a partner. And what I'm hoping is this serves as a start, if you will, of our partnership and collaboration, not only with all the hackers, if you will, who join you from around the world, but also with all of you who, many of you are friends, and we've had to, we have reconnected around this effort, and I hope we will keep in active touch. Some stats that I'll share with you, which I think are amazing. We had more than 750 participants from around the world, out of 67 countries, 236 cities. There were 110 submissions. Almost half of them met the minimum viable, if you will, criteria. And of course, you will see the results. But look, regardless of whether you won or not, or whether you came up in the last top 10, the fact that you gave time, you thought about this, you formed teams. In many cases, people came together on Slack. They formed teams with people they didn't know from before, and people from all over the world. You've made a huge mark in moving this thing forward. So we are hoping this attempt at innovating against this pandemic will continue. So again, thank you, congratulations, everybody, and I'm going to pass it on to Miguel, our CTO, to tell us more about the process and then, of course, the results.
Thank you, Dilawar. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're super excited, especially about the numbers that Dilawar just shared with you. So just a quick reminder of why we even took the time to do this. As I said in the kickoff, as an AI company serving healthcare, we felt responsible to do a lot of different things. And this is just one of the things that we decided to do, bring the AI community, the global AI community together to see how we could move the needle beyond what we were doing, and see if we could inject some new ideas into the pot, and then pick the best of those ideas and see how we host those ideas in the Lumiata platform and try to grow the ideas from that point on. Share a couple of things that I found pretty amazing about the hackathon. The first one, as you heard, it was a truly global hackathon, but there's something really special about that, how so quickly people from 236 cities could come together. It really makes the world a much smaller place. And it just goes to show that if you have a driving force, if you have a driving function, look at what's possible. So it just occurs to me that as a planet, we should be executing more like this. We should come together more often in a lot of more areas to put our brains together and solve big problems. And I mean, the hackathon is a tiny little example of how we could do this, but that was very inspiring to me. Another really cool thing that I'd like to share is the ages that we saw in the hackathon. We had some really young participants. We had some teens participating, but we had a young gentleman that was 10 years old. Well, he is still 10 years old. That was our youngest participant. He even said, hey, I'm here. My submission is probably not that great, and I'm competing with people that are 40 something. Whether the idea was great or not, I think it's very special that we have people that young participating in things like this. To me, it hits home personally. I got exposed to my first computer when I was 7, and it really changed my life in many ways. So if there's any of you in this session right now that are that young and in your teens, please continue to go at it. This is awesome. Continue to participate in things like this. Keep doing it. There's also another really great thing to have seen is just the breadth of the submissions, just the different kinds of ideas that we saw. I'd like to take a moment to thank our judges. I know that you guys are all very busy. You have very busy agendas, and nonetheless, you took some time to come with us and participate in this. Thank you very much. I'd like to also do a special shout out to our technology partners that participated in the hackathon. We had a few different companies not only share their technology, but we also did Zoom sessions for them to explain to people how their technology worked and how it could help the hackathon. We even had GCP, Google Cloud Platform, donated some credits. We had some Google engineers on one of the channels providing support. So really, thank you. Having your name associated with the event as well as having your participation, it helped a ton. So thank you to you guys as well. Let me go back to the breadth of submissions. We saw a variety of machine learning techniques being used. We saw people go from like, hey, here's one model with some predictions and some machine learning performance metrics to people building prototypes of full end-to-end systems. A couple of them even had suggestions on how to integrate hardware into the system that they were suggesting. So very quickly, in a short amount of time, we were able to cover a lot of ground in terms of breadth. That was really amazing to see. We just a reminder of what we were judging the submissions on. We were looking at 5 areas for our judging criteria: innovation being one, another one being AI foundation, impact, scale, and feasibility. So the way that it went down is we gave specific judging sheets to our judges, and people could rate from 1 to 5 different aspects of each one of those areas. So in short, every submission got a score. And we got all the submissions. We had our judges do disambiguate a couple of ambiguous scores towards the end, and we ended up with a ranked list of submissions, and that's how we picked the winners. We actually, before even sending the submissions to the judges, we Lumiata took some time to make sure that every submission met a minimum criteria. Not all the submissions did, so we took all submissions, filtered out down to the ones that didn't meet the minimum criteria, and those are the ones that were sent to the judges. Just wanted to give you a little bit more insight as to how the judging went down, just so that you had that visibility. I'm going to hand it over to Jessica to take us to the next part of this event.
Thanks both to Laura and Miguel. That was a great kickoff. Let's get into some of the nitty gritty. There were 5 honorable mentions that we want to call out now. It was a tight race, and there were a group of absolutely awesome submissions that really clustered at the top. And we felt like in order to recognize the effort and the unique approach that some of you took, we wanted to call out some of those honorable mentions to make sure that you get some airtime. It's only fair given how much work everyone spent. So we're going to start off. Anish is going to highlight CoLink for us, and Anish, I'll turn it over to you.
Let me unmute myself, Jessica. Thank you for having me, and I'm really grateful for the CoLink team for the time and effort they put into their submission. There is a little bit of a what we saw and then what I saw in the context of the broader challenge that we're under. The team had a pretty thoughtful approach to a problem that actually is quite pervasive in this COVID era. That is an individual, I'll call them a PUI, a person under investigation. They might have COVID, or if they've turned COVID positive, many of them are staying at home. And their conditions may be deteriorating, they may be going through challenges. And so there is a new muscle in the delivery system to figure out how do we stay on top of someone's symptoms such that they do in fact deteriorate. We can rapidly identify the next step in the protocol to bring them in perhaps into the hospital itself or for more intensive treatment. You could say a simple thing is that they help build a roster of patients that have been dispatched home that have had COVID. But from this challenge, they also added a feature that allowed the literature, the ability to read the literature about risk factors, disease progression, and the like, to inform physicians who are monitoring their panel as to who may likely deteriorate. And that decision support, powered by the kind of real-world evidence that's been gathered around the globe about the nature of this disease, I found that to be quite useful, pragmatic, but ambitious at the same time. I will say that there is a very clear universal policy goal during my time in government that we would have a learning healthcare system. It takes normally 17 years from a best practice that's been researched in a lab, finding its way into practice more ubiquitously. And so this compresses that time period, and we're seeing it in COVID in real time. The decision to open up the underlying data, the ability for entrepreneurs like this CoLink team to use it in a feature and a function that can be meaningful. I was really struck by just that rapid turnaround. And I am hopeful this team, with the honorable mention, may continue to build out their products and scale, hopefully not just within their market, but potentially around the world. So thank you, Jessica, and kudos to the team.
Great. Thanks, Anish. That was great. I think we had a long conversation internally about CoLink, and we liked the idea of bringing those two ideas together, the diagnosis and the literature, and we thought that was very unique as well. So we saw the same thing. Let's turn it over to Severance. Severance, I believe you're out there. Severance has two honorable mentions he's going to be talking about.
Hey, Jessica and Lumiata, thank you so much for the opportunity to judge this competition. Thoroughly impressed with the submissions, and many of the submissions I reviewed, I would have accepted an interview with you guys to be on one of my teams, so it's a huge compliment. So there's two of them here that I was pretty excited, and I use the word sexy because I'm a geek, because I thought their process was pretty good. So the first one was, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, QT or CUTY, C-U-T-Y, all capital letters. And what this submission was using an avatar to collect data from elderly patients that are home, and then taking that data using a complex neural network and matching that to any symptoms or changes in healthcare or whatnot. So we in the healthcare community and AI are very interested in this. There are a couple companies that are pretty advanced. One of them is Alignment Healthcare that we talked about, and a couple of the other providers who are looking at utilizing avatars to collect this information. Why this is important is that studies have shown that patients in general, but also the elderly, will be a little bit more honest and forthright with some of the data with an avatar versus a care manager calling. So if someone calls up and says, "How are you?" and they'll be, "Oh, I'm okay, sweetie," blah, blah, blah. There's nothing there. But if an avatar like an Alexa or whatnot asks, people are much more honest. So I thought this was very innovative. I thought the AI that backed it up in the data collection was very well thought through, and the impact is pretty powerful. I think this is going to scale, and I think this is something that you will see in the future in healthcare. So hats off to QT. We were very excited about that. The second submission, Jessica and team from Lumiata, is Coughing AI, or the AI stethoscope. This was a top 5 finalist. And again, I would say it's probably one of the sexiest submissions I saw. The person that put this together basically came up with an idea with a inexpensive microphone to record coughs from different pulmonary pathophysiologies, and then classify those using audio sound recognition, right? So you have computer vision. Audio sound recognition is an area that we're putting a lot of money into for AI research. So this individual found a cheaper way to possibly categorize symptoms of COVID in a telemedicine way. And so that could be a screening. And the reason we like this so much is the individual, it was thoughtful. It was using an advanced AI platform. And number 3, the gentleman went out and collected his own data. I'm assuming he wore a mask. We thought that was very innovative. I think Miguel used the word scrappy, and please, the person that submitted that, please reach out to me because I'd like to talk to you. So back to you, Jessica.
Awesome. Thanks, Severance. That was great. Next, I want to turn it over to Lisa and have her highlight one of our honorable mentions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for including me in this interesting project. It was great to see the submissions and to see the excitement around trying to help, which frankly, we need a lot more of. So commend those who participated. The one that I was really intrigued by was PO-COVID or POC-OVID screen, point of care COVID screen. It's really a point of care ultrasound product, which was meant to be utilized instead of CT scanning to diagnose the disease, which is great because particularly where you can use handheld ultrasound scanners, you can take the testing anywhere, assuming you can get the specificity and sensitivity right. The group was very ingenious about getting data to train the model, and I think their view is that if you could get a lot more data, you could really make it great enough that it could be, quote unquote, self-diagnosing or auto-diagnosing, or at least to the point where you could triage the scans to folks who could verify. But it would help build a model to replace CT with ultrasound, which would make it available in far more locations, far less radiation, far less expense, etc., making the analysis possible even in places where perhaps paraprofessionals would have access to those type of ultrasound products. So you can buy on Amazon, frankly, for $2,000. So that would be very good if it were possible. So thanks for providing that proposal. I think you should keep trying. Their website, if you look at it, provides a place for people to send data to help keep training the model, and I hope you all support that.
Excellent. I love that. Thanks, Lisa. I want to turn it over to Jun Ling. She's going to highlight our 4th honorable mention.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm honored to be a judge for this hackathon, and I'm very impressed with all the submissions with so many different, very creative projects. The project I'm highlighting today is a more AI-driven project where the team, 2 data scientists, Aaron Prakash and Supriya Milai, they put together a data set where not only is from our COVID-19 data set, they also try to download the data set from Kaggle competition so that they have a well-balanced data set to create this detection using computer vision to detect whether the X-ray from the patient has a COVID ID or not. So by that, the team itself already have go beyond the data we provide. And secondly, I also really like the way they create a balanced data set where you have equal number of cases. So in order to detect someone has COVID-19 through X-ray, you also need the equal amount of image of normal people and the equal amount of image of people with bacterial pneumonia. So with 3 types of outcome, they were able to create a classifier that has more than 97% accuracy. What I also like about this project is they investigated using confusion metrics, investigated how well they classify each case, and what is the precision recall, what is the F1 score. So the team has done a very good analysis. So I feel the science there is very solid. In addition, I also noticed that for this submission, some team did not totally complete. So they said that for the future work, but this team actually delivered the live website where you can upload the X-ray image and then get the result back. So I actually tested their result. It's very good. So those I think I highly encourage all of you, if you haven't finished, definitely go on finishing your project, because itself really help you to learn and make it real for this competition and also beyond this competition. So I like this project. I do see other people also have a similar idea, but has not fully completed. There's another team actually use a mobile phone, uploaded the image through mobile phone for consumer to use. Those are very good idea, but I do encourage you to really model after this team, and that's my comments for this team.
Great. Thanks, Jinling. And just in case anyone missed it, the name of that submission was Deep Learning Tool for Diagnosis. I think Jinling said it, but I wanted to make sure everyone heard it because it was a great submission. Lastly, I want to, for our last honorable mention, I want to ask Adam if he would speak to one more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's been a real honor to look through these submissions. It was inspirational. And this one in particular is titled Check If COVID. And I love this one because it was relatively simple, but added on capabilities that we haven't seen. And so what they built out was a self-reporting survey for symptoms that then calculates the probability of a COVID infection. And we've seen lots of discussions in the media about contact tracing and having people put in their symptoms and get information back. But building in the AI on top of it to train the data to enable regions to look at, right? If you have the flu running through your region and everyone goes in and is putting in those similar symptoms, how great to be able to get feedback that we're not seeing COVID sweep through your area. There's a strain of the flu that's working through. And the real problem that they were looking at is shortage of testing, right? Shortage of hospital capacity. If we can provide better information to the public, then we can help alleviate that strain on those systems by helping people better understand what they're seeing by building an AI on top of this available data, along with that intake of the self-reporting symptoms.
Yep.
I just loved it because it takes such a simple concept and turns it into something that's so powerful and can genuinely be a force multiplier. Regional governments can take that information and better understand where they need resources. They can start to see hotspots before you get diagnoses based on the symptoms people are starting to put in before they present themselves through testing in the hospitals, right? It's just this very simple context that could have real impact in a whole variety of different areas. And I particularly liked that because it's so simple, it can stand alone as an application for users, or people could build it in. You could add it into your tracing application, right? For doing contact tracing is something that people can do before they get tested. You can add it on to your data that you're putting into all sorts of different sources. So I just thought they did a real great job teaming up and putting those things together in a unique way.
Great, thanks. We also like the idea of how that tool could tie into telemedicine. That was another opportunity that we saw in that one. I think it's great. So thank you to all of our judges. It needs to be mentioned again. all of these judges that have participated are extraordinarily busy and took time to spend brain power and energy to review these submissions, and we can't thank them enough. There is no way we could have done this without them. So I want to thank them before I turn it over to Miguel to take us through our second and our first place winners. Miguel, there you go.
All right, so this is the moment of truth right here. So I'll start with saying that it's very difficult when you see a big list of a lot of amazing submissions and then you have to narrow it down to just a couple winners, first and second. And we just stayed true to the judging system that we created, and we just let the highest scores win. So I will start with the second place. Second place is a project named COVID-19 Scholarly Article Network Searcher. So when we put the hackathon out there, we planted a couple of seeds. We said something around, hey, can we do something with information? We were going in a slightly different direction, saying, can we classify credible information versus not? This does not address that per se. However, the other seed that we planted is, can we do something with the COVID-19 data set that was put out there for the challenge that the White House is even sponsoring? And it encompasses thousands of journals covering different areas of COVID-19. So this individual, his name is Kate Nemoto from New York, took the latter of those seeds and created this system that effectively allows a researcher to search for papers that are similar to the paper that is consuming at the moment. So the another interesting part of it is that it is not just comparing two papers, but it's really using the or the sections of the paper to do the relationship, the similarity relationship. So there may be aspects that somebody is studying about a paper, and you want to find other papers that are similar but related to the section that you're studying. So this project trained a Siamese RNN model and to encode a large set of documents, and then it subsequently built a network with the documents using the sections of the document as nodes in the network. And what you end up with is a system that allows you to search for similar articles. And the rendition of this project is focused on COVID-19 journals, COVID-19 papers. But we thought that, well, first of all, it is addressing a need in COVID-19 on the research community. It should accelerate some investigations. For those of you who have spent time with papers, you know that you're reading a paper, and if you want to find something similar, you can go to Google and you can do some searches, but then you have to go through a variety of papers to then find the one that you're really interested in that's really similar to the one that you're reading. So this should accelerate that process considerably. So it should make the research process a lot faster. But in addition, we thought also the AI part was pretty solid. The way that the model is trained and the technique used, and the way that the network's built after, that's very solid machine learning methodology. Then what we thought is that there's also, it's versatile. It's focused on COVID-19 related articles and journals, but it doesn't have to stay to that. You can start creating segments of areas of research, and this be a good system to be able to navigate through broad chunks of research papers for when you want to find a similar one. And that's it. That's our second place. Now moving on to the first place. So this is actually a team of individuals. I believe it's a team of 8 people. And one of these individuals won another hackathon, won the MIT COVID-19 hackathon as an individual, but now here they're participating as a team. So this is the name of the project, Immunolink. So their tagline is immunity testing meets blockchain. So a few things. First, let me describe what it is. So this is a system that is meant to be given to healthcare workers to test for their immunity against COVID. The idea here is that the highest risk people is healthcare workers because they're right there in the front lines working with sick people. And therefore, it's a service to them to have a quick way to test for their immunity. The idea is that you'll have people in healthcare that would have already been exposed to COVID, but you don't know if they've built immunity around COVID yet. So this system gives healthcare workers a set of questions that they can answer on a daily basis. And it uses a machine learning model behind the scenes to then figure out based on the questionnaire around symptoms that the healthcare worker answers on a daily basis, it predicts when is the right time for then have that individual take an immunity test. That individual would take a blood test, and then it would take the results from the blood test. Then it would take a picture of the test with the phone, and then it would go to the system backend, and then another model would actually do a classification on the image and be able to tell the individual with a high degree of accuracy what is their immunity score. The higher the score, the closer you are to immunity. So if you think about it, it starts to solve a few different things. Well, first and foremost, a lot of projects that we've seen, even beyond the hackathon, are around predicting cases, predicting case count, and also predicting if a person may have had COVID. There's a lot of work on X-ray, so there's a lot of computer vision work. Severance even mentioned one that's now trying to use audio for the same purpose, but we've seen very, very little around immunity. So that's original. It tries to tackle a different area that hasn't been talked about enough. So it's very original. Then it gives a service to the healthcare workers, and it is decentralizing the ability to interpret the test results, right? So right now there's bottlenecks in various areas of healthcare. In order to interpret a test, you need physicians, and that alone creates a bottleneck. So this decentralizes the ability to interpret the results with a very high degree level, with high level of accuracy. And so that now you're giving the healthcare workers a service that is fast and decentralized, and therefore they can know more quickly whether they have built immunity or not. And then the next thing, though, is, as you know, there is a lot of controversy around, well, if you get COVID, are you then immune afterwards? And are there signs that you're immune and then they start fading over time and then you can get sick again? I don't think anybody really has the answers, but then a system like this can collect enough data to start answering those questions around immunity. And the other thing that's interesting is that it takes your question, the results from the questionnaires that it gives you, it takes your test results and it takes your predictions, and it puts it all in a blockchain system so that you have a really secure and private environment to keep that data in a way where that data is immutable, so it can't be modified. So that's also very interesting. It starts adding something that's not necessarily AI, but it addresses any privacy and security concerns around this kind of thing. The other thing is, it's hard to figure out when you test for immunity, who should researchers be testing and when is the right time to test them? And that's very hard to figure out. But if you take the healthcare population as the front-end population to be in the front lines of your research, you'll get a good sample of the population, and you may not have to go into the deeper layers of the population. So you're giving the service to the healthcare workers, and you're using it as a very, very quick way to start accumulating the right data to answer some of the questions around immunity. And there's a lot more that I can say about the project, but it's pretty holistic in terms of the different areas that is composed by from a systems perspective. We also like that the submitters they present a solid plan on how they could roll this out, doing pilots with hospitals, and they even gave the pilot phase a little bit of structure, so you start getting an idea of how feasible it is and also how scalable it is if something like this were to be adopted. And that's it. I mean, congratulations. This is, again, an area that people are not talking enough about when it comes to AI, which is immunity testing. And congratulations. One last thing to the winners, first place and second place, we will be getting in touch with you to deliver your prices and your cash prices. And our second promise to you was that we will host your solutions in the Lumiata platform. We will contact you to talk about that as well. And I'll pass it back to Jessica.
So exciting. Again, we had such incredible submissions. It was so hard to choose. Congratulations to our winners. As Miguel said, we have cash prizes that go $10,000 to the first place winner and $2,500 to the second place winner. We will also be reaching out to our honorable mentions because in addition, we felt that there were some opportunities to consider hosting them on our platform as well because they were such phenomenal ideas. So we're looking forward to touching base with all of you personally. Once again, I want to thank everyone for their participation. This has been an incredible 2 weeks for Lumiata, I'm sure for the judges, for all of the participants around the globe. It was an honor to be able to work with all of you. Thank you to you and our partners and everyone involved. I think we got a taste for this and we're going to want to do it again. So we appreciate it, and stay safe, everyone, and enjoy your weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.